unemployed.
Hey, be thankful. At least you working, some of us not.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, I was out of work for almost 2 years here recently, so
Sorry to hear.
yeah, it's cyclical. It's it's one of those things. So and we're getting there. Look at that. All these people popping into the room. This is wonderful.
Okay, we have more people now.
Yeah. Hey, and look, there's Sylvia. There's the presenter herself.
Hola.
Hi, Sylvia. Nice meeting you.
Hi, nice meeting you. What is your name?
I'm Joanne.
Joanne. Hi. I just have turned off when members are not in camera. Oh, I seen you, Joanne. Hola, Jorge. Hola, Bob. I seen you, Joanne. How did your interview go?
The interview went okay, but I'm not getting any feedback. It's like I'm interviewing with all this company, but I'm not getting any callback or denying letter. So I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing.
Well, keep positive here.
Yeah.
Hi, Jorge. I think you are new, or I haven't seen you before in other breakouts or in other sessions. If you want to give a brief introduction.
Sure. I'm a Scrum Master at Amaranth Bank here in South Florida. I'm working mostly with the digital channels, mobile banking and personal banking. And I've been in a couple of these meetings with Rick, but a long time ago. And we also engage his company for some of Agile training in the bank. And that's pretty much it. I look forward to joining more of these meetings.
Nice to meet you, Jorge.
Nice
Bob,
to meet you.
do you want to say something so those that don't know you?
Yeah, I'm unemployed and enjoying it.
Yes, well, awesome. My name is Sylvia. I am a Scrum Master right now here in Puerto Rico. I'm not in Florida. I'm here in the island. I work for CGI. It is a global company. I've been there for a year and a half, but I've been doing work for Scrum Masters in 4 different companies now. So here I am. I came to these meetups, and with Tim and with Bob I've seen before, we just volunteered to do this. So let's do it.
Awesome. Hey, Sylvia, it's Regina. How you doing?
Hi, Regina.
Good. Great to see you guys. Hi, Bob. Hey, George. Welcome to our
Regina.
meetup.
Hi.
Great to see you, my students. So, anyways, just here to provide support. Awesome, Sylvia. Great to see you. Stepping forward. Very proud of you. So I'm excited. I'm excited for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Regina. No pressure now. No. Let's go. What I do love is about these meetups, how I know that we are not the only ones with the sticky notes. I see a lot of people with the sticky notes, so I think that is a characteristic of us, the Scrum Masters. So respectful engagement, this is our topic. And our learning objective of this for leaders is like when we are presented.
We lost you. You muted yourself.
Okay.
There you go.
Yes.
There we go. Okay, so respectful engagement is our topic here, and what the learning objective of this is to give leaders new techniques and to spark conversation of what we can do for respectful engagement. So if we can go to the next slide.
Certainly.
Thank you. So respectful engagement, who wants to, Jorge, can you read what respectful engagement is?
Sure. Respectful engagement is being present to others, affirming them, communicating, and listening in a way that manifests regard and appreciation of the other's worth.
So what do you think that means when it says affirming them, communicating, and listening in a way that manifests regard and appreciation? What do you think that is?
To me, it's expressing that you care for what's going on with the other person or what the other person is telling you or communicating to you. So that you show that I care. I'm here. I'm present. I'm not just listening to you in the background. I'm here, actually listening, understanding, trying to get on your shoes and seeing the world from your point of view so that I can then work with you or whatever and appreciate what you're doing and then work together.
Good. Thank you, Jorge. So we have this short video here. It's only 3 minutes. I think we have time because we are a few members here to see more about how to engage your team. It talks about emotional intelligence, empathetic cue. So let's watch this for 3 minutes.
Yeah, and please let me know if this doesn't play through your audio because I know Zoom is a little wonky sometimes.
And you got to make sure it's you're. Yeah, we can't hear it. We can't hear it so far. You got to make sure you share with.
Share your audio.
Yeah.
Oh, share my audio? Okay.
Yes, right. And then you got to turn the audio on the video itself.
Ah.
Because if you
Even
mute
better.
the video, it won't show.
No, true.
Okay, now share your audio.
And of course, I got to go over to my third screen.
Yep, got to go to your sharing options.
Yep, sharing computer sound.
There you go. Go for it.
All right, let's pull this back. Is that loud enough for everyone?
Engagement is all about feelings. As Carl Buchner said, people will forget what you say, they'll forget what you do, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. Engagement is a measure of the team's emotional commitment to their leader, and it's critically important for the bottom line. In America, disengagement costs business over $350 billion a year, and in Australia, $45 billion. Gallup studies show only 30% of people are actively engaged despite all the attention on engagement. Do you really know how engaged your people are? In the engagement surveys I conduct, the average business has about 50% engaged and disengaged in total. This is a leader's first great opportunity. The remaining 50% sitting on the fence waiting for a leader to engage them. I call this the leader's sweet spot. An actively engaged team member is around 30% more productive than a fence sitter, and retention is dramatically improved. So it's essential that leaders work this sweet spot. A leader's second opportunity is to disengage people, or bad apples. Target them as well. Help them adjust their attitudes or help them find another job. Great leaders have emotional intelligence, but to really drive results and be exceptional, leaders need what I call EQ2, engagement intelligence. EQ2 involves really understanding your people, finding their individual motivators, and working on these hot buttons to improve morale, attitude, and results. In my book, The People Pill, and in my engagement presentations, we cover many strategies a leader can implement immediately. They cost virtually nothing and are guaranteed to make people feel great about themselves, which is the real secret to getting the best out of people and engaging them. Some of these strategies include 5-minute desk chats. These are a way to show people you care about them. Mary, what's on for the weekend? Sending out personalised handwritten cards that recognise specific contributions, are timely and from the heart. Morning teas to celebrate progress and success stories. Holding a breakfast of champions to acknowledge effort. Pretend people have a banner on their forehead. Make me feel special. Remember, people usually leave leaders, not organisations, and it's the line leader's responsibility for attitude and engagement. I recommend you measure your team engagement and implement strategies like the ones above. Focus on that sweet spot to bring everyone along and create a culture of engagement. It really will change your bottom line and retain and attract the best people. If you think of the best boss you ever had, it'll be someone who helped you believe in yourself, cared about you, and developed and inspired you. In other words, they engaged you. Become a master of EQ2 and be the best boss your team ever had.
Okay, so what do you get from this video? Like what top theme you got here from this video?
Could you share that link, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
I don't
like
know
the
if you could share with
video?
Bob. That might be too much for Bob.
Hey, leave Bob alone here.
There is you applying your EQ too, Sylvia.
So I have a question for you. If I'm here looking at you and hearing what you're saying, am I listening? You think I'm listening? Is hearing what you are saying to me the same as listening?
No, not necessarily.
Exactly, because you can be here present, I could be looking at you, but in the same time looking at everything I have around and not really engaging. So if I'm quiet here and I'm listening to you, what can I do to demonstrate that I am engaged?
Affirm or question. So, you know, this is what I hear, or am I hearing you correctly, or this is what I understand, or yes, I agree.
Sometimes it's a physical language, right? Like definitely eye contact, nodding of the head. There's also physical keys, things that you can do to also show engagement.
Good, thank you. Also, we can do like paraphrasing the speaker that you said, listening with your eyes, and also mirroring the emotions that the speaker is doing so that you can identify where the speaker is going. Because not always the speaker is giving something that you're interesting, but you need to look at them, sorry, you can look at them and try to mirror what they're saying, and also being this other word, empathetic, by looking and nodding, like you said, with the body language. Also some powerful questions, right? We can use some powerful questions as well, so they understand that we are listening to them. Tim, do you have anything you want to add?
I appreciate what you covered, Sylvia, and I think one of the tools that I have used in the past that I find to be pretty effective as far as engaging team members is get a little personal. Now, mind you, HR policy may give you some guardrails that you have to work within, but understanding as a leader that there are all these external influences going on in our lives right now is extremely important and very critical to help the team feel like they have value, especially if the work is still going at a pace that seems almost unsustainable. I've got a member on one of the teams that I coach, and he's part of a smaller group that's in Canada right now doing work. I didn't even know until we had one of the daily stand-ups here. I think it was on Tuesday, that he had fallen ill, and one of my immediate thoughts was, hey, what can we do for him? I know he's in a position where he's in a hotel right now. How can we as leaders help him? And so it's funny because I think in the work environment, oftentimes we kind of detach a little bit, and we don't think, oh yeah, there may be something going on at home, or there might be a situation that they're dealing with related to their car, even though they're not driving. They hadn't done repairs or whatnot and broke down over the weekend. So there's just 100 or more different things that may be nagging at people. But when we try to engage them person to person, it seems to build a lot of trust, and that's just one of those takeaways that I've learned and practiced over the course of several years as far as a leader is concerned. So back over to you, Sylvia.
Thank you, Tim. So some things that we sometimes do when we are listening that are some negative points could be like putting our emotions first. So if we come and someone comes to talk to us and we are already setting up our emotions and how we feel, or if it's something regarding to the leader, which is in this moment us, we should not let our emotions get through, right? The same with being impatient. Sometimes being impatient, what we do is we already have the answer. So we're not listening if we already have that answer, because in our mind, we're hearing, right? Because in our mind, we're already thinking of an answer. So we're not listening there, right? And also putting some judgment in the communication, thinking, oh, here this person comes again. When sometimes the person does have valid points, it's how we listen to those points and what we can identify. Does anyone have any example of that happening, that you've seen, that you've communicated with other leaders, or you've seen other leaders communicate and some types of emotions are in place, or impatience, or being biased?
Not other leaders, myself. Yeah, the patience thing resonates a lot. It happens a lot. You know the answer. The team is discussing, and you're already 5 minutes down the road, and you're like, the answer is this. Period. Take it. Go with it. Next topic. And sometimes you just do it, and sometimes you need to understand, no, you gotta be patient. You gotta let them express themselves, let them vent. Sometimes venting is so important. Even if it's wasting time, you need to let them vent and provide a space without judgment. You mentioned that. Without judging them, let them vent, and then say, okay, I understand you. This is how we can work with it. Here's the answer. Or what do you think the answer is? Maybe they can come up with a better answer than the one that you actually have.
I love it. Silvia, can you hear me? Also,
Yes.
A very common situation that's unfortunate, right? Middle management and even upper management, they're sometimes so bombarded with tactical day-to-day things and fires that they have to put out, that they don't have the time to be able to sit back and actually lead, because they're fighting fires all the time. And so that's very common in middle management and upper management sometimes as well. So that is something that we have to help leaders, delegate and, be able to have the time to be at the more strategic level where they can actually lead and have the time to talk to their employees and help more at that level. And so the tactical day-to-day is sometimes, an issue. Just wanted to bring that up, which is the reason which is why they get impatient, right? Which is why they're not available, which is why they're not always good listeners. It's not because they don't want to, it's sometimes because they're bombarded with so much work themselves. And imagine if they're having those issues, that the people that report to them are going to have that 3 times even more.
Thank you, Regina. Some types of listening, I think I already mentioned one, it is to listen with your eyes. So listening with your eyes, we can just face the speaker fully, maintain an appropriate eye contact, and look how they're expressing, so we show that we are interested in what they're saying, right? Another thing is to communicate that you're listening. So when you ask questions, you give back feedback, you repeat what they're saying. By asking these type of questions is a good way to demonstrate that you're engaged in this conversation. Giving attention also is a good way, is also to focus and avoid distractions. Like Regina said, sometimes we're always fighting, oh my God, how do you say that? Apagando fuego. So
Firefighting.
you're turning, turning off the fire. In my case, I have 3 teams. So sometimes I'm working in a meeting with one team and someone from another team is talking to me and another team is talking to me. So I decided I'm going to avoid all distractions. With teams, you can show that you're busy and just leave it so I can focus on this team on this moment. So, and listening to whys, listening for the whys. Listening for the whys could be looking what is the message that this member or this person is trying to tell you. Because if we are leaders, maybe it's someone from our team that is coming to us, and we as leaders are the ones that are listening. So listen to the why. So sometimes that body language as well gives more detail than the words that are coming out of the mouth of someone. We have this scenario here that we want to present and try to do some role playing. We're few here. And we also have a Jamboard. I don't know, Jesus, if you can,
yes, I have a link here.
Provide.
Yes.
Thank you. To the Jamboard.
Yes.
Thank you. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to present this scenario of one of your employees comes to you with a new escalation issue, and he or she feels that their teammate is not pulling their weight. So we can do a scenario, and because we're few here.
Is it all teammates other than them is not pulling their weight, or is it a single teammate is not pulling their weight?
A single teammate.
Okay, because that's not what it reads. Oh, one of the teammates. Okay, yeah, I see that now. Sorry.
So we want to understand how would you manage this, right? And how will you address this issue if you think that it's for you to fix this? And how do you use influence with these techniques of listening and respectful engagement over power or trying to micromanage, right? So how can we do that without over being powerful and just trying to influence and facilitate this conversation? So who would like to start this? We have the Jamboard. Does everyone have the link there?
I put it on the chat.
Let's go to the chat.
Hey, an anonymous chinchilla joined. And a hamster. And a platypus.
So maybe can you share that screen one moment, Tim? Thank you for your support. So we can show at a high level how the Jamboard works for those that haven't used it. And this is pretty simple. What we do is we take here in the left side panel, there is a sticky note. And you just select the sticky note that you want and write the information, some bullet points and answer, and then we'll have a conversation. And you place it in each of the spots based on the question that we are asking. I don't like Mondays either. Bob, you have any questions?
I'm trying to relate this Jamboard to the questions you've had, and I've lost the questions you had.
These are the exact questions from the slide.
Yes, because I was trying to do the same thing as well.
Okay.
Okay, so it depends on the maturity of the team, because really a self-organizing team will address this problem. And to me, it shouldn't be a single team member bringing this up to a Agile coach or a Scrum Master. If you have a highly performing team, functional team, it becomes a team opportunity to address this. And I would also say, if they came to me, I would say, I need some data. It seems like this is subjective. Do you have any data to back up what your concerns are? Because I'd have to come to what is this concern with this person? And why aren't they bringing it up to the team? Because really, if you have a team that has trust, no fear of conflict, accountability, this reaches all three of those. So I would say if this can't be addressed by a team, you have a bigger issue too to resolve after this one, saying why your team can't resolve this as a team.
Okay, so Bob, let's think about the scenario, and you're the Agile leader over several teams, and we know due to human nature and interaction, there are some times where even the best, most brilliant, high-performing team can just get deadlocked. People get locked into a set of anchoring heuristics, mental shortcuts that every single time something goes wrong, it's, oh, so-and-so is just not pulling their weight. Because maybe in the past, there was some behavior that was driven out, rightly or wrongly, that kind of indicates, hey, it looks like you know, Joe's going back down that rabbit hole again. So let's assume in this particular case, we've just got really bright, talented, smart, and capable people who are in this vapor lock state. And
all right, again, so you have bright, intelligent people that are not functioning as a team. And as I was going to say before, is that to your point, Tim, that sometimes first impressions are lasting impressions, and that needs to be I mean, so again, this is a team thing. So the team needs to understand: are you, as we as a team, saying this first impression of Joe is the proper impression, and how are we addressing it? Because if this sounds like this isn't the first time it's coming up from what you were saying, and it's coming up, it should. So again, I would kick back to the team, or understand if the team can't address this, you don't have a self-organizing team, which you should, and you don't have a high-performing team.
Okay, this almost sounds like a borderline self-managing team is what I'm taking away, because self-organizing and self-managing are really two different things.
Okay, so I'll give you an example. We had, so our teams, we have company values and we have team values. And the values are used to hold each other accountable. And the values are used when you bring someone on, you make sure they understand the values and they adhere to those and they embrace those values. Those are core values. Okay, so there are different types of values. There are core values, there are minimal behavior values, there are aspirational values, and there are unintended values. So I'm talking strictly about core values now. So these core values are used to hire people onto the team and remove them from the team. And that's what we did. We had someone that was not meeting the performance of the team. And the team said, these are our values. You are not meeting this value. And understand this is what our expectations are. And we had hard data to show it. And you know, if this is the case, then you are not a fit for this team. And you will be self-organized off the team. And we did that. They did not meet those values. They did not meet the expectations, which are clearly communicated. And it was a team effort. That's what to me, that's what self-organizing teams do. They create their values and they use those values the appropriate way to self-organize.
Right. So Tim, let me ask you a question. So this scenario, and I had asked Jesus to please put the scenario sample again in the Jamboard so we could read it again and try to understand the scenario. Because Bob is speaking to an Agile team, right?
Right.
Is this scenario could be generic? It could just be a department leader and an employee is coming to him escalating an issue, complaining about somebody in the department not pulling their weight. What's the scenario? If you can break that down a little better. And are you looking more like any leader in any of these scenarios? What would the leader do, right? And then of course, if it's an Agile team, then Bob's recommendation is like, hey, you know, we've already set these working agreements and these values because it's an Agile team. But if that's not the scenario, which one are you guys looking for?
Yeah, in at this point in the curriculum, because this is actually, I think we're in module 5, so we more or less worked through the entire discussion of, you know, what does an Agile leader look like. And so, you know, part of the way that we're looking at giving a trainer an option is to go through the 3 types of leadership / management you know, scenarios, as far as being a command and control leader, very authoritarian, versus being more democratic and delegating, versus being truly an Agile leader and asking the team, what can I do to help you get done? I'm not going to tell you how to do the work. I'm going to hopefully remove all those impediments, you know. And of course, that's, to your point, Regina, that's the best case scenario. And maybe that's a good thing that we can touch on here. You know, I don't want to assume that all of us have experience across this full leadership / management continuum. You know, so in this particular instance, we can look at it from 3 different perspectives, from the traditional command and control, do as I say, not as I do, to that full, hey, I'm here to facilitate your success, because when you're successful as a team, we're all successful. So, as far as answering those questions, let's start with that command and control, person. You're the prototypical middle manager, and you are slammed. How would you respond to this? Somebody, the team in general wants to vote somebody off the island. I mean, because we need to have, I think it's a good illustration of what not to do, right? Because we're trying to approach it and transform the way we think about how we interact with people and how we foster high-performing teams as Agile leaders. And I'm sure you guys have plenty of scenarios to share.
Yes, if I follow Bob, I like what you are saying, and for mature teams. So what if your team is not that mature? Or what if new members continue coming into the team? And every time we have new members, we should regroup and see how new working agreements, because not everyone works the same way. So if this were to happen to any of the ones that are here, in this scenario, what will you do when this person comes to you and talk to you? What do you do to engage them? And yes, to ask them the question of the data, but if you come right through it, like, come and give me the data, aren't we doing a little bit of judgment that we talked a little bit before?
Well, yeah, so that would be one of the first questions, is why do you feel this way? What if you don't have data, if you don't have, give me proof. And that is the data part. But also then, continuing on with that, I would say, well, then we need to make this a learning opportunity for the team, that they need to learn to trust the team to bring this up to the team. And again, there's a difference between working agreements and values. So people should be brought onto the team understanding, embracing core values. And so that's, and then you may want to readdress the working agreements and make slight modifications to them. But to me, one member coming on a team shouldn't have that much of an effect on the working agreements of the team. You bring them on because they are a cultural fit, or they can become a cultural fit. So again, this is could be a growing opportunity for the member and for the team, for them to understand how a self-organizing team works, and for the team to understand this is how a self-organizing team works. But again, get to the, as we've said, this, I understand you feel this way. Why do you feel this way? And make sure it isn't one of these, a personal thing, and that isn't the first impressions or lasting impressions, that when I first met this person, they say something that rubbed me the wrong way, and so now I have a personal affront to them. So make sure there isn't a personality clash there. And again, there could be, and if there is, that needs to be addressed too. But you can't just, to me, you shouldn't just talk it away saying, well, that's not right to say that, but understand what their feeling is, why they feel it, and is it valid? It may be they may have a valid point that this person is not pulling their weight. And then again, that brings it up to a team level. Why is the team accepting this? And it may be that they are, and that would be, again, a communication thing, understanding why the team is accepting this level of low performance, and there may be a valid reason for it. It may be that this person that is not performing now has a elderly parent that they need to care for, or they're undergoing cancer treatment, or they have other things. Understanding that, the team should understand that so they can support them. And I've seen teams do that. They say, okay, we understand these people are going through, our team member is going through these challenges, and we care about them so much, we will support them in these ways. And then it just is open communication and understanding.
Thank you, Bob. Jorge or Joanne, do you have anything you want to add? What techniques you would use? How not to be micromanaging them?
Well, it could be a miscommunication. It could be a training issue. So it's to have a one-on-one with their team member, because sometimes to see what they're missing, what are they lacking. That's what I would do. And then, because if it's like the other gentleman say, if it's a mature team, most of this issue usually come out during our daily stand-up sometime.
Yeah, and to Joanne's point, if it's a training issue or training problem, that's where a clear opportunity to pair is.
Yeah, I wrote that,
So,
but I
yeah.
said training or pairing the team, pairing programming, put them with someone that's more expert than them. Instead of having 2 eyes doing the coding, you have 4 eyes. Yeah.
Powerful questions. Have you heard of these powerful questions?
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit more? What you've heard of? How would you use them here? Jorge, how would you work with this? I know you're a Scrum Master, so you should have some team members. If one of them comes and say, this person is not pulling their weight, like how would you manage that?
Yeah, I actually was the one to put the ask the why. Basically because sometimes the reason is like, I think it was Bob who said it. The reason it's because of a first impression, or for something other than that. And it's not about judgment. It's about, sometimes that's how it is. What I would say is, try to really understand what is going on, what is behind the complaint, what is behind saying that they're not pulling their weight. If there's a valid reason or a valid situation going on that, yes, they're not pulling their weight, then addressing it would be mostly bring it to the team, put it on, to the team in a daily stand-up or a specific ad hoc meeting that you want them to do and have an activity and just address it. And it may not be directly to the team member if they feel that they will be attacked or something or judged, but do an activity that would bring it to light and say, that we're in this, bring up the values, bring up the agreement. If you don't have values in themselves set up like that, but you do have agreements. There's a way when you set up the team, you say, this is how we work. Bring that up, refresh it so that it comes to mind and try to get to work that, but not micromanagement. If you try to micromanagement, then you're coming back to command leadership by commanding and not actually just having the team grow and having the team solve their own problems. That's how I would do it. Now, you asked about the powerful questions. I don't really understand that. I may have seen it, but I don't know what they are. If you can clarify them, I would love that.
So I don't know if you guys can see this. I actually pulled up the PDF. Okay,
yeah, we can see it.
So it's a coaching technique from Coactive Coaching. And this document is freely available, which is great. So you can download the PDF. They revised it last fall. So this is the most recent copy of it. And what they do is they group the questions to help a leader ask kind of the right probing questions to get to. It is kind of like the root cause analysis 5 whys approach, but this gives you probably a more diverse grouping of questions to get to motivation, to get to intent, to look at history as well, which is really what 5 whys is all about. But in the context more along the lines of individual performance, not so much individual or team level outcome.
Right.
Tim,
And George,
could you put that on the chat, please?
Sure.
Yeah. And so thank you so much for sharing that, Tim. That's awesome. And so George, so this is also a motivator to have your team members hold themselves more accountable, and for you to motivate them to find their own solutions, right? Instead of you having to give them the answer all the time, these are some techniques and some questions that you can kind of throw a little bit back at them, and then have them retrospect and be like, oh wow, yeah, I didn't think about it that way, or yeah, I would do this way, or yeah, this was the situation, and kind of walk them through that thought process. That's what we refer to as powerful questions.
Thank you, Regina.
Thank you.
Yeah, and also the team said also the 5 whys, and we've done that for root cause analysis. We can do that for defects, but also here, just continue asking and why, but why, and explore more, right? And explore more, and that helps with the engagement in the conversation, to be actively engaged, to try to use influence over power, because we're not telling them, we're just guiding them for them to give us the answer, for them to come up with the solution as well.
Beautiful.
Okay, I'm gonna time box this. We've got 15 minutes left, so I don't know when we're supposed to be back to the main session.
Hey, thank you for timekeeping. I appreciate that. That's yeah,
we're all Agile coaches and Scrum Masters. We should all be doing this.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I was asking here, Jesus, how much time we had. So I just wanted to know if we had a little bit time just to do a small retrospective, because we wanted feedback. This is a course that we are preparing, so we wanted some feedback, but let us know if we have that time. Jesus?
Yeah, you have 5 minutes more.
Okay, excellent.
Awesome.
Okay.
And by the way, I've been taking feedback as we've gone along, so
Awesome. Thank you, Tim.
That's important.
I
can drive and type at the same time. So
yeah, you know, an alternative to the 5 whys is another powerful question, which is there another way? It's just that simple. Is there another interpretation to what we've just interpreted? And let them go laterally, go off in a potentially divergent direction. Okay, and it doesn't dig deeper, but it goes laterally. Okay, because one of the things is sometimes people, when we apply for example the 5 whys, they'll get used to it, right? And they say, oh, this coach, he's going to come at me, he's going to hit me with the 5 whys, and once we find something that sounds like it's plausible, we're just going to keep going. So use your Jedi mind tricks and throw them a lateral facing question, which is there a different direction? Just a different direction. Is there a different interpretation? And that kind of makes them unlock themselves from whatever direction they were heading and consider other possible avenues of exploration of a problem or alternative. So I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Thank you, Marcelo. Anything else you want to add to this conversation of what we've been doing?
No, you just piqued my interest with the concept of the 5 whys.
Yeah.
So I figured I'd throw another tool in there for you guys to think about. You know?
Awesome. And so these are really good. I guess also from just, if you've got leaders listening in, right? And you're talking to leaders about this, just from the simple perspective, hey, when somebody comes to you with an issue, you know, always think, you know, there's different sides to every story. Keep an open mind, right? Listen in, and then come back with some of these techniques. And then you review the different techniques that you're recommending for this leader. And we've talked about all of these, the 5 whys, the powerful questions, the listening, the body language, and then the kind of figuring out how to find that person's who's coming to you with the issue, with the escalation, to learn, for the leader to learn how to coach them through using these techniques to find plausible answers there. So from the servant leadership perspective, a leader is supposed to be an impediment remover, to remove blockers. And these are the different techniques that a leader can use for that.
So I can't just say, stop being such a big baby and whining and throw them out of the cube. That's
So
not the way to handle.
you can think about that, because everybody does at some point in time. Absolutely.
Well, Bob, you're self-actualizing, right?
Yeah.
So go for it. You know, I think more power to you.
That's where we gotta have patience. Remember, George mentioned patience. Believe me, and we've all been there. But then you gotta, hold your breath. That's your role. Servant leadership. How can you help that person stop being a baby, right? How can you help them stop being a baby? There you go.
Right.
Hey, Regina, something that struck a chord with me when you were talking about this earlier is I think oftentimes, going back to that firefighting perspective, we don't generally approach this type of scenario with gentle, innocent curiosity, really seeking to understand what the situation is. And I know it's a lot of it's because of my time in uniform. I want to solve and move on, and I have had to take a step back and go, I really don't know what's going on in your head.
Yeah.
Would you please share so that I can understand whether this is maybe it's a self-feeding, feedback loop within the team that everybody's happy with something that's absolutely unrelated to Bob, or unrelated to Joe, and it becomes a simple fix because SharePoint and Team Foundation Services isn't working.
Yep.
But it just so happened that Bob or Joe or whoever became the focal point because they were the last one to work in TFS.
Right.
Yeah.
Quite
So
honestly, it shouldn't become a surprise if you really have a pulse of your team. You should be aware of this and either be able to say, okay, I'm missing something because I don't see it, and find out what that something you're missing is.
Right.
But a lot of times you should be very aware.
The breaker room is going to close. Okay, right now.
In 7 seconds.
Yeah.
It's out of
We need to
5,
go
4,
back.
3.
Thank you.